All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Conference. Walsh alongside Ron Cook. And if you do roof, make sure you call Ireland Contracting, the best in the business, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Give us a call right now on the Borders and Borders hotline. We have one line open, 412-575-2600 is the number, and we're going to continue our Bucko conversation. We're going to go right out to Paul out in Oil City. What's up, Paul? How you doing?
We know that Hurdle likes to adjust his infielders for different batters, but in a broader sense, where do the Pirates stand as a team that uses analytics compared to other teams? You know, some teams are famous for it, some teams are famous for not using it. Are the Pirates in the middle like they are with everything else, or where do they stand with regards to other teams with analytics?
I think they pay a lot of attention to it. The general manager certainly does. And Hurdle, even though he's an old school guy, and he'll tell you that, he's come around to, you got to at least study it and look at it. Doesn't mean you have to apply everything that the analytics tell you, but they're very much into it.
Oh, yeah, I had a conversation with Neil Huntington in spring training talking about that's why Starling Marte is batting second. They use analytics to figure out where guys are going to bat, who they're going to sign, and I think they're one of the major players when it comes to metrics and things like that.
You see shifting. All teams shift a little bit. And they shift too. I mean, all the spray charts, every ball is tracked. You know where every hitter tends to hit every ball, and they try to put defenders there.
Yeah, and this is something small market teams have to do to really compete. You saw the Oakland Athletics. They were a team that really started this whole Moneyball concept.
The second question is that good or bad?
I like the eye test, Ron. I'm big on, I'm a big stat guy. I like analytics to a point, but I also like the eye test.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't need exit velocity to know that a ball was hit hard. I mean, Polanco hit a couple ropes tonight. I don't care what the exit velocity was. I guess it's part of the game now. You use it, maybe you pick and choose. You use it to your advantage. I don't know if it's good or bad. When you win, it's awfully good.
Yeah, I think it is good.
When a shift doesn't work, well,
then it's bad.
Then it's bad.
I mean, I can think of one where it really didn't work out for the Pirates. I remember they used analytics to determine who was playing right field and who was playing left field. Gregory Polanco had a better step towards his left, and Andrew McCutchen had a better step towards his right. That was left field was not a position for Gregory Polanco.
I just remember once when A.J. Burnett threw a fit on the mound when they were in a shift and the ball was hit where the shortstop was supposed to be. He didn't like that. I remember that.
All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. We're going to go out to Mike out in Castle Shannon. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Hi, Rich. Enjoy the show. I want to talk about the Pirates. I'm glad they won, and I've been a Pirate fan for years. But I just have just a general question. When I hear Bob Nutting talk about how optimism, that he is or the organization, I wish someone would ask Bob Nutting this question, and I wish he would be honest with the fans. How many baseball games over all these years has optimism ever won? And I'm going to hang up and listen to your comment. Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. And, I understand a lot of people are frustrated with Bob Nutting, and I know I'm sure you have. I know I have. I've asked him every question I can and every which way, and you still get the same answer. He kind of evades questions.
Well, he has a story, and he sticks to it. I mean, he doesn't believe, at least publicly, that just because you spend a lot of money necessarily makes you win, and that they have to pick their spots, and they have to be right. And 3 years in a row when they made the playoffs, it was hard to knock them. I judge it on wins and losses. Is this team a competitive team? I think it's competitive with all these injuries. I don't know that they can sustain it. I wish they'd spend more money, but they're not going to, and it's just the fact of life. And a lot of other teams aren't either. I heard, a lot of people have said, why don't they sign Dallas Keuchel? He's out there. But, you have to give up a number one draft choice in addition to all the money. And that's why nobody else is stepping up
to sign exactly
him.
why.
Now, after the draft, I think it's June 5th, then you can sign him. But if you wait till June, he won't pitch until August. He hasn't had spring training yet. So, I get it. I'm one of the other people that would have loved to have seen them sign some more guys, but they're not going to do it.
And they tagged him, which is $18 million. So he basically turned down that one-year tender for $18 million. So it's going to take at least $18 million a year to sign this guy. You know, it'd be nice if the Pirates had that. They do have that kind of money. They're $60 million less than league average.
Well, I don't think it would take that much to sign him because he's not going to get that elsewhere. He just made a bad call, I guess. But when they turn down the tender, there's draft pick compensation involved. And they're not going to give up a #1 draft choice. And it doesn't look like any other team is either. They're not the only team that could use pitching.
Yeah, they definitely have to give up a draft choice if they would sign him. And, yeah, they could use him. There's no question about it. You know, maybe you'd be willing to give up a draft pick if you were going to sign him to some 5-year deal. But the guy is 31, so how many more years can he pitch? And you're going to get Archer back here soon.
Nobody else is knocking his door down.
They have, yeah, and they have some.
Nor Kimbrel, the relief pitcher, too. Those are the two. Both those guys turned down the tenders.
And that's what's hurting them right now. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. We got Peter out in Johnstown. What's up, Peter? How you doing?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Thanks
You for taking my call. I had a question about the Pirates. Specifically, I want to get your opinion on Elias Diaz. I wanted to know whether you thought that he is going to eventually be a starting catcher, and specifically whether you think he'll be the starting catcher for the Pirates, and is he good enough that they'll think about moving or not re-signing Cervelli?
I think there's a real good chance, you know, if they're out of the race in July, that Cervelli could be traded.
I'm surprised he's still here.
He's making a lot of money, and it's unfortunate. I think he's such a huge part of the pitching staff, calling games, working with the pitchers. They love him. They trust him. But he's hitting, what, about 170? And he'll tell you that isn't good enough. And I don't see him going to be back here necessarily next year. I don't know if he's going to finish this year. I think they like Diaz as a future going going ahead.
Yeah, his value with the team is the pitching staff and the rotation, starting rotation. Yeah, they do. And that's why he's still here. I mean, you would think the Pirates' MO would have been to try to move the guy with a huge salary like he has right now to get him off the books, but you probably couldn't. You know, I bet you they tried. I don't know.
And he's had the history of concussions and injuries.
Yes.
And, you know, he got hit again tonight in the arm with the pitch. It seems like the ball, there's a magnet. It just seems to hit him at all parts of his body. If it's a foul ball off his mask, he gets hit. He got hit in the wrist the other night. He got hit in the arm today. I think he has some real bad, you know, you hear puck luck in hockey. Yeah. He has some bad baseball luck, I think.
But if we go back to the salary cap a little bit, or the Pirates' payroll, you know, they wouldn't be in this predicament if they went out and maybe signed some depth guys. There were guys out there that they could have got. And, you know, they're winning with some of these guys right now in the injuries.
Cabrera's been huge.
Yeah, Cabrera's been huge, but it wasn't even one of these. It wasn't even one of the big free agents. He was a minor league deal.
Right.
You know.
And Chisenhall wasn't a major money sign.
No, it wasn't. But they didn't even. I mean, they could have tried to make an offer to like a Freddie Galvis, and then there was a guys on that kind of caliber guy that could have helped his team. Even if you don't think he's going to be a starter for you, because they had Gonzalez penciled in as a starter and he gets hurt, but you look at what happened. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, it's been bad. I mean, I go back, I remember '89. They had a good year in '88, like 85 and 75. Everybody was excited about '89. Jim Gott was 4 saves in '88. Blows out his elbow the first game he pitches. LaValliere gets hurt. Bream gets hurt. Van Slyke gets hurt. All in the first couple weeks of the season, and they never recovered. And then the next year, '90, they won the first of those 3 division titles in a row. So I have seen injuries like this, but the one, you know, you can survive a lot. I just don't know if you can survive Taillon when you consider him to be the ace of your staff.
Yeah, they got to survive this next month. This month of May is brutal. If you can get through May and you're 500, then maybe you have a shot. But these next 2 weeks against the Cardinals, starting with the Cardinals 4, and then it just gets brutal after that. You got LA 2 and San Diego. All right, we got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. 412-575-2600 is the number in a couple minutes.